Yeah, or I might take that. Just two months. And this get the plugs in it. You feel what I'm saying? And then the feed is straight into the thing. And then remember, that space being bigger, even if I do got the speakers, I can just output our audio from that to the speakers. It didn't work in here because there was so much feedback. Because let's spread it out. If I put the speakers far enough, so we get the best of the world's quality sound in that and quality sound. That feel good on my leg. Yeah, I'm good.
It's my first time that I work with G. Alright.
I'm on somebody's show. I made it.
Yes, look, I made it. Good evening, good people. This is the Invisible Doctor. This is the show Mental Me. We talk about everything as it relates to the mental health in our communities and in the urban families and everything else, even in the culture. And you'll find the more that you listen to this, you may even see some of the similarities in your culture. Today I have an absolutely phenomenal guest.
Yes, you do.
You know, I cannot begin to speak enough about him, so I'm gonna do this.
I'm just playing with it. I interrupted him.
So that's all right. That lets me know how phenomenal you are.
Hey, listen.
How about that?
I'm the man.
Tell them about yourself, where they can find you, and how they can get at you if they can get at you.
Dr. Gilmore, thank you again for having me on your show. I know it's your first show on Totally Detective Radio. Can y'all hear me good? Yeah, they can hear me good. I can see the bars. But this is none other than Silas the Third, one of the operators, one of the called servants of Total Entertainment Radio. And it's an honor for me to even have you on our station. You know, we met a while back, and I was able to connect with you on a level that I haven't been to connect with in years. We started Total Entertainment Radio back in 2020, but for about 5 years previous to that, I worked in the mental health, in various mental health facilities in different capacities. And so when you and I met, we were able to connect on the passion that I had, I don't know, in a way I had kind of strayed away from, haven't been able to talk to many people about it besides the people that came out here. Is she all right?
I was just about to ask them.
Somebody give her the high She got some water? Yeah, but I'm sorry. But yeah, so I was able to tap back into that passion. And you know, it's one thing, I'll be honest with you, it's one thing to talk to someone about mental health. It's another thing to talk to another mental health professional about mental health. Those conversations are different in so many ways. And you know, not to down anybody or whatnot, but that one-on-one connection with two mental health workers, it's crazy because I was just talking to Kayla and Ange the other day, specifically Ange, because Kayla has worked in mental health too a few years. So we're able to connect on a level in some forms. But Ange, who's never really been in a facility, or, you know, like she may know of, you know, some people that may struggle with mental health, but you don't really know the ins and outs of it, how it goes. Yeah, so I was just telling them the other day, I was like, man, I just wish that y'all could sit and just listen to me talk to another mental health professional. You'll be amazed. I like hearing other professionals talk. I'm like, word. Yeah.
It's something different.
Yeah, it's something
And the
different.
longer they've been in the field, the more you hear different views and perspectives.
Man, yeah, all of that. All of that. So that's why I was excited to be on your show.
I thank you so
honestly,
much.
And like I said, I'm ready to get into it because, and just to give a little background of my story, man, oh my God, I wish. You only got an hour. So
I know. Well, let me go into it. Let me go into it because I know with mental health, we never really know where to go because we end up all over the place, you know. So good people, everybody that can hear my voice, the topics today is about our African American men being emotionally detached.
Okay.
This is actually a derivative of some issues that stirred off of social media, where a lady took the African American provider took to TikTok, and they mentioned about how she has some clients, men who are emotionally unavailable,
Okay.
detached in relationships.
So they close shop.
Absolutely, and but they want to know why they're having a lot of the issues that they're having in their relationships.
Okay.
And she mentioned that she had quite a few men in her practice and what she was doing, and you know, it's just enough is enough, you know, as a provider, and I get that.
I saw a piece of the article.
Yeah,
I think
it was something.
enough was enough.
Okay, and I get what she was saying, you know what I'm saying, but it wasn't what she was saying, it was how she said it.
Okay.
You know, we got the bitches, we got the niggas, we got this, and it was because it was her personal page. I guess she thought she could be that candid. However, it caused her to lose her job. And then there was a local reporter here that made mention that there needed to be additional regulations for providers to get their license, or there would be more people that thought like her.
Yeah, I love people that talk about regulations.
I love people who think that what's being said, how it's being said is more important than what's being said.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
what are your regulations based on?
I mean,
You know
well,
what I'm
first and
saying?
foremost, that woman didn't pull that out of the sky. She's a provider for a reason.
She done said something.
And people that came to her came to her.
Right.
So that meant they had a problem. And if they're staying with her, they meant that they thought that she can help.
I agree and say, yeah, she's such a problem. She got fired.
Okay, she didn't get that license at the cereal.
Right.
But saying all that to say, that brings us to our topic today about our African American men being emotionally unavailable in relationships. I am divorced, I don't mind saying that. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
Okay.
Put back on the market
Yeah,
in case for somebody out there like a thick. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And educated, you gotta have at least 27 out of 32 of your teeth to be tall.
That's cool. You got 5 to play with.
Okay, so I'm creative with it. I'm a Gemini.
Okay.
So when we talk about relationships and our African American men being unattached, being emotionally unavailable, we have to really get into the generational curse behind that. You know, we have to understand our Black men didn't just grow up that way and just said, okay, today I'm just not going to be focused. Right. We have to realize that, you know, that stemmed from growing up and being a product of their environment, right, wrong, or indifferent. I say that all the time. You know, if for Black boys, it was a little bit different for Black girls. You know, you couldn't cry. Right. You had to suck it up, buttercup, be a man. Right. You know, and unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of emotional examples to see in the home. And if you did see a man cry, it was usually because somebody had passed away, not because he was frustrated or he was angry or anything like that. And even if there was a man in the home at all. Amen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is a whole other problem.
Oh, yes, sir. And a whole other bottle of wine and a whole other session. Please we'll be back on talking about that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Definitely don't break those generational curses. But to bring that back, you're currently in a relationship, yes, and so you can understand being an African American and whatever the environment is, being emotionally attached when a woman is telling you her emotions. You know, we're right brain thinkers, so we're more emotional, we're more touchy feely, we're more affectionate, and we want that. But when you decide to get in a relationship with somebody, as a man, you have to understand that if this is a relationship that you're trying to foster and fester and grow a family with, you have to be able to reciprocate that. Right. Where do you see the disconnect?
Well, for one, I think, and I've been thinking about this for a few hours because I didn't want the conversation to go everywhere. I think that I try to take more of a macro point of view. All while understanding a micro perspective, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
You know what I'm saying? I try to understand everybody's individual experience, but at the same time, I like to solve problems fast, which means I solve big problems quickly.
In my world, that's called solution focused therapy.
Oh, that's me all day. That's why I tell people all sometimes you don't want to come and ask me for help because I don't know how it's gonna come out, nothing like that, but I will promise you it's gonna make a change in whatever you're doing. If you want it to, yeah. And so I was thinking about it, right? And I think that we have to begin, right? And as men, in understanding part of your responsibility, right? When you decide to become a man, no matter what age you decide to become a man, you know when you start doing man stuff,
Wow.
you decided to be a man, right? But part of that acceptance of deciding to be a man has to incorporate a value or belief system about emotions. That's one. More specifically, I think, and just because I'm talking around it now, we need to understand, for one, that it ain't just the women that's emotional.
Sure.
Let's just
If you're
stop
human,
there.
you have
If
emotions.
you're human, you have an emotion. I don't care how many Tupac records you listen to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care how long you've been a gangster. I got uncles, I got cousins that's gangsters. They got emotions too.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care whether you've been raised in the ghetto, whether you've been raised in the burbs. I don't care. It doesn't matter. You are a human. You experience emotions. They're not just in the past. They're not just in the future. At this moment that you're listening to
But
me
the
talk.
problem is, if you experience them, how are you able to display them
And
in a
that's it.
healthy environment or in a healthy
And that's number two. But I think that one of the biggest problems is getting, and I'm gonna switch over to the ladies too, but you know what I'm saying? I think one of the biggest problems when it comes to this topic is really getting men to accept that they have emotions.
Hello.
And then if I put a little addendum there, being able to identify what that emotion is, which leads to my second point. Even most of us, especially black men, and this is my opinion, but even most of us, right, that even know about emotions, really only know about two.
Right. Pissed off and even more pissed off.
Or this.
Angry man pissed the fuck off.
You feel what I'm saying? All of that. That's it.
Basically.
That's it. If especially when it comes to what we're taught as a man,
Absolutely.
right? Whether we've been taught this verbally or by example, we all end up learning about the same thing. Like you said, either pissed off, more pissed off, or maybe happy at the moment or satisfied.
Have you noticed that even and I'm again talking specifically in our community, even with black men, they're almost afraid to be a certain kind of happy, but they don't mind being an elevated, pissed off, and angry. They don't mind showing that level of anger and mad because that might give them a sense of toughness. But when it's time to be happy or elated or ecstatic, whatever vocabulary you want to use, that's cut off because if you show too much excitement or happy, you label.
Yeah, and see, and that was literally like what I was gonna say for number three. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, especially for black men, if one, we accept that we have emotions. Two, we're able to honestly identify what the emotion is at the moment, right? But three, being able to secure an environment to express said emotions.
There you go.
And as a man, I mean, I wish I could combine them three things in one and just do it all at once. But it has to be separated for you to understand what's going on. But people don't know how it took me 34 years of life to realize I need to do all these three things in that order. Priority number one.
I'm telling you, if you want to be happy with you,
if I'm going, because that's who it's for.
I'm trying to tell
and that's what I realized. Like for real. That's what I realized. It's really for you, and really that would go into our fourth thing. To be honest with you, is men understanding that is something important for them. This don't have nothing to do with your woman. But a lot of times we don't even have this conversation unless we're talking about a woman.
And unfortunately,
you know what I'm saying?
Women, when we get in these relationships, we really don't know, and I'm gonna use the word, we can fight about it later, but we really don't know our black men are broken until we get in these relationships and we find out that their communication skills are lacking. It was different when we was texting back and forth and Facebooking or DMing each other and kicking it periodically on the phone every now and again. But then now we're in a whole grown-up relationship and we have to be able to effectively communicate.
And the thing is, if you haven't done at least those first three things that we just named and talk about, whatever you texting and DMing is some lies.
Basically.
You know what I'm saying?
But most folks, and I'm gonna say women us too, we usually send our representatives before you get to meet the original person.
And that's why I cut that out, because I was trying to send my representative.
Baby,
I wanted them to know.
When you get a certain age, you get that representative then retired, you get too old for that shit.
The representative of silence is going.
You get too old for that.
27, 28. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, if you need to know what you're getting into right now, I
You do.
want to know what I'm getting into right
And I
now.
want to know, and I expect for you to do the same.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? Be strong. And so, like I said, you know, to be able to create and especially when it comes to creating a space, you don't have a space for a woman if you don't have a space
For emotions. Because we a bag of them.
Man, what?
And these women out here lying to
Man,
themselves
what?
talking about they can have these
Man,
platonic
what? Nah.
coochie
Okay.
relationships and they can't catch feelings. Lie.
Just give it some time.
Oh,
Just
give it about a second coochie day. Yeah. And then they on my phone.
But to be honest with you, if I'm real, guys ain't too much the same. I mean, ain't too much different.
I agree.
You can't play that game. You can't play. It's 2022 now, and all the cards are out on the table. So the time for thinking that you're getting away with an emotional game, man, that bad in like 2022.
And you know what? But unfortunately, the end result about that man being emotionally unattached is they fall back.
Yeah.
They become inconsistent.
Yeah.
Or they become combative. Or they'll come up with a bag of excuses as to not continue what they started in the beginning for the sake of not just saying I like you.
But that's the thing, though. I see, you know, I don't want to tell all the total.
I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, total entertainment radio, right? We operate several multimedia things.
Right.
Some people on them, some have other people on them.
Yeah.
But I'm privy to a lot of inboxes.
Gotcha.
Right? I see.
Wow.
I see the messages, and it's funny because in my mind I'm thinking like, yo, like a man's not even in a place for real to where you can tell by the messages. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad because he's been in so much DM and the messaging going on. So sometimes I think people just get to, from what I see, I think people just get on there and say, I don't even think they know what they be saying sometimes. To be honest with you, you know what I'm saying? I done did it like in my 20s, man.
Some people are talking just to hear themselves talk, or just to see what they can get away with.
Man, yeah, or just to see what they can get away with. I just had 10 extra minutes. Let me go on here. You know what I'm saying?
See what I can get away with.
I might get the draws.
We all guilty.
We
all guilty.
Absolutely. But you know, to me, it's about a maturation process. You know what I'm saying? It really is. I never forget, man. I guess I call myself a little. Yeah, so, you know, just young, and I never forget. I was working at Applebee's, and I had a manager. And I was pretty friendly, you know, with the staff and everything, but I had a manager say something to me, and I'll never forget it, man. You know, they was making fun of it. After a while, I had been known to like get girls' numbers and stuff like that, tables or whatever. So they see me doing it, they kind of poke fun at me, you know what I'm saying, after the girl leaving and everything. And I had a manager, real smooth cat named Glory. And he was like this, he was like, man, you can't get hard on girls. But it was the way he said it, though. It would be 20 years, 15 years, before I really understood what he said.
What did you take from that statement?
15 years later, why would I want to play myself for all these women to say that they got me? It makes me look cheap.
Morals and values and standards, that's what I decided.
You know what I'm saying? It make me look like a hoe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that, I mean, I'm talking about, dude, you know, it's funny because, you know, barbershop talk. You feel what I'm saying? Right. Barbershop, whatever. And dude, like, oh, you know, I'm talking about a time where I could have been dating anywhere from 10 to 15 girls at a time. You know what I'm saying? And I thought that was cool. Like, I thought it was cool. Only to realize that I'm playing myself. So I say that to say this, like, you know, there's a maturation process for real. Like, people need to understand, like, our society has been so consumed about dating and relationships. And if you really want silences, honest opinion, I feel like a lot of people need to mature before they think about putting somebody else in there.
Well, you know what? I like that, but let me add a caveat to that. I think if people are mature enough to know what they want in a relationship, they wouldn't choose the people that they choose.
I think you're right. You're right.
Because
right.
I can't say, you know, the woman that I am now was not the woman I was 21 years ago when I was dating my daughter's father and they had our daughter, you know, because if I was, who babies, that shit would be different, you know. She here, we love her, we gonna keep it
I know,
going.
God bless.
But one thing about getting older is you're supposed to be wise.
Yeah.
And in that walk in these 21 years, I had to get to know the invisible doctor.
Yeah.
And what invisible doctor wanted, what I didn't want. What I liked, what I didn't like. I had to kiss enough frogs to know, hey man, what I'm turning into a prince.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, when we talk about emotionally attachment in these relationships and why they are causing so many problems in these relationships, we first have to be real and know thyself, to thy own self be true.
That's true.
You know, if I'm getting with a dude and he's emotionally unattached and he doesn't have the capability, or not saying he doesn't have the ability, he's choosing not to want to become more in tune with his feelings,
Right.
then I can't make this dude my husband.
Right.
I can't be over there trying to cook for you and wash your clothes and come getting up out my bed and laying up with you knowing I gotta be at work in the next 2 or 3 hours when I know at the end of the day you're not gonna ever really be able to give me what I need to completely satisfy me.
Right.
Now that's to each his own. What I drink don't make you burn.
Right.
But I'm just talking about emotionally unattached. And where we need to start getting our African American men, like I said, that therapist she was on the money about what she said.
Absolutely.
How she said it could have been a little bit more tactful, but at the end of the day, the problem is still a problem.
Yeah.
How do we get our African American men to become more attached to these relationships? Because relationship, I tell everybody, this is an option. You choose to be with this person.
Right. For whatever reason.
Right. So if
Whatever
you're
that
choosing
means.
to
Yeah.
stay
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
you're
do it
not
right.
doing what you're doing, then do it right. And if not, then shut up
Yeah, right.
or leave.
Right. Or leave. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think if we're gonna be honest, like I said, I'm a solution-based person. If I'm gonna be honest about if there's gonna be any change, if there's gonna be any change in black men becoming more emotional available, it's gonna have to be inspired by black men.
Wow. What would you say they would need to start with? Let's say we got to do this from the streets. And we got a lot of folks that's from the streets. A lot of them getting older, they're making some changes in their lives, whatever, becoming successful, growing their businesses, having families. But you know, the seed has already been planted, and so that dude from the streets is still there, even though he's a father and a husband.
Absolutely.
And so he's not attached. So what would you tell that dude, knowing that in order for him to maintain that level of happiness and not having his girl out creeping? What would you say?
But that's the thing. But here's the thing. And this is gonna be hot.
You better go ahead on and
Yeah,
say
I
it.
want to get this on the line. I was talking to Ange a day or two ago, and she said it was something she was looking up, and she was looking it up in the book. And I made a joke. And I said, you know, black folks, they think when you get wrong, you ain't got to read no more.
Ain't that true?
It was a joke, but the concept in my head has been there for Lord knows how long. Because even though that reading part was a joke, the basic principle of what I believe or what I've seen from many of us that I've been around, right, is either the inability or the lack of desire to further education outside of what's required. It was simple when we started the radio station. You know, I was talking to them about how we was going to do the setup, right? The truth is, all we did was educate ourselves on a subject matter, which was radio. Like, we read books, we read articles, we treated it like it was the biggest research project of our lives.
I mean, if you're going to invest your time and your money into it, why not?
Right, right. And I love it because it made all of us check ourselves individually, right?
And realize where your weaknesses and your strengths are.
Man, what? And realize that, I don't know, I'm gonna just lay it on the table. We have spent years not learning. Just because, I mean, maybe we didn't feel like picking up a book, maybe we didn't feel like we had
Or
something
just
that we needed to
becoming
learn,
complacent.
or becoming complacent. You know what I'm saying? Hard pill to swallow. Oh God, for us, yes, hard pill, extremely hard pill, including me. You know what I'm saying? To accept it. But once accepted, we've seen the dividends of just being open to more learning. I don't care, you shouldn't have to need a degree to decide that you want to learn
Or be a better
or
person.
be a better person.
I always said
You
it,
know what
I
I'm
used to
saying?
always say, when you know better, you do better.
Right.
But there's a caveat to that as well, because once you know that you're supposed to do better, don't always necessarily mean that they do.
Yeah. Or that people exist. I tell you, I've seen people do some real tricky stuff like to know better.
They know just enough.
They just
function
yeah.
and they just function.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah, function. Ooh, that's a
You
little
can have
right there.
You can
Yeah,
have
that's it right there. I heard that's the thing.
Functioning and
Function
dysfunction.
and dysfunction, absolutely, and we do it out of comfort or out of desire not to be in uncomfortable place. And what to me was been a blessing with our businesses has been the literal forcing of us out of that comfort. Once you begin to become a person that's cool with making a mistake,
And admitting that you wrong.
man, what? Yeah. But to me, even that is just be okay with I'm getting this wrong, because I'm getting this wrong gives you what you need to get it right.
Well,
You feel what I'm saying? And so, you know, like even back to your article, you know, black men, and by now a lot of us know, we know we're not emotionally available, right? But I think one of the things that keeps us like away from the therapy is because if we go, we'll have to address that we may be getting this wrong.
and all of the generational curses, trauma, and tragedy
Yeah.
that is surrounded by all of that. And it's like putting a Band-Aid on an infected wound.
Yeah.
And what therapy does is rips the Band-Aid off of that wound that was actually affected, that your cognitive distorted thinking ass.
So good luck trying to get to that wound though.
Okay, yeah.
You ain't even gonna be able to roll up the sleeve.
Okay, you know, it's all what you put into it. You know, it's what you put into it. But you know, as we piggyback on the article, and with men being so unattached, and you know, women coming and complaining about they really want their relationships, and they really want to build on what they have because they've invested their time and money. But and this man is really a good man. But, you know, it's only so much that a woman can do to get that man to open up. One thing that I found in these 40 blah blah years I've been on this earth is that a person make time for what they want to make time for. And I'm slapping air high five to every woman out there. Just like, I don't care who you are, man, woman, or child. You make time for who and what you want to make time for. Like you said, you guys know you wanted to start this business. You knew just enough to know that you didn't know enough.
Right.
So you knew that you had to get out here and do
You had to make a lot of time.
Okay.
All the time.
But you also knew that you had to invest the time, understand that you couldn't be who you were when you got started, because if you were, you would never be where you are now.
Yeah.
And I take that same thought process with the emotions, with our black men. I know I'm not a black man, so it's not easy for me to say that, but I can say this, okay, because I have helped rear some black men and raise them.
Okay.
Hey, y'all. And for that, I always used to let them know it's okay to cry. Whatever you didn't get growing up should never dictate what you're trying to do in your life. Just because you didn't get enough ass whoopers growing up don't mean that you still get the right to be out here and be hellion.
Right. I tell you the number one emotion that I you know, I talk to a lot of people all day long. This all I kind of do is go from person to person talking
Okay,
about
so you have to
everything.
John by now.
No, they don't pay me for it. They just take up all my time. They do say, I love y'all. Nah, I ain't got no check. But I talk to a lot of people, right? If I had to name the number one emotion that is overlooked from my experience, and that's on both sides, men and women, it's confusion.
Like
You be, oh my goodness, you be, I don't know who the kind of people you talk to. I say in my last 10 years of talking, I probably can count on one hand how many people have been able to verbally say to me, Silas, I'm confused.
me and you don't have enough hands and toes together to count how many people that I speak to just in a month who don't even want to admit that they are confused.
Man, what?
And that is so complacent. But that's word
Man,
again.
what?
Functioning and dysfunction.
Yeah.
Or those words again.
Yeah.
And then want everybody in society, in the world, in relationships that they get in to be okay with their bullshit because they don't want to change. Like you said, when you know better, you do better. Okay, well, to whom much is given, much is required. You want 100% from a woman, or a woman, you want 100% from a man, but you want to carry all of that baggage
Yeah,
when you first started dating.
yeah,
But you still expect to be happy, and you want this dude to love you, or you want this woman to love you and give you everything that they got when they got their own shit.
yeah. They
You gotta make it
confused
make
too.
sense.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody, I don't know, and I'm just gonna say it, whatever. We are living in the most deceitfully confused generation I've ever seen. We are
So far, so
confused
good.
and we don't know it. And we don't, and even if we do know it, we'll be damned if we say it.
I was getting ready to say
You know
that.
what I'm
I think the confusion is coming out of fear.
Yeah,
Society
absolutely.
has a lot to do with
Absolutely.
that. Our medias, the
Yeah.
social media platforms. I'm a little older than social media.
Yeah.
So,
So you remember when people actually talk?
Yeah, hell
Yeah,
yeah. So
yes.
when I see a lot of this antisocial, and I get a lot of patients that come up, they have social anxiety. I'm like, well, shit, I was on to even get my point across.
Yeah. See,
You
if I
know,
talk to you,
right? You know,
absolutely.
I'm a little
Absolutely.
older than Beavers. I was gonna date myself,
Absolutely.
but you know, we even knew how to call a person a hoe. You could be a 304 on the beat.
Yeah. Oh
You know, you
can
could express yourself
Yeah.
before they got the sky
Yeah,
papers and
say hello.
yeah, you can say hello ho, you know, you get creative with it. But I mean, but at the end of the day, the fear and the confusion that you talk about
Yeah.
is a real thing.
Yeah.
And as long as we keep feeding that demon, it will continue to grow and be justification for bullshit,
But
in my opinion.
the tool that we use to defeat that demon, and I ain't gonna go spiritual, but anybody that know me, I would say number one is Christ. I put it out.
That's
all
and
right.
number two is what?
Education.
Well,
Education.
I strongly
Even if
agree.
you ain't gonna go to spiritual, all right. Educate yourself.
Know thyself.
Know thyself. Yourself is an education.
I'm trying to
I heard somebody speak. They said, I have a PhD in me. I was like, dang, I ain't even got an associate.
You should.
Hey,
That's why I ain't got an associate.
I'm like, I gotta go back to school on me, but
You
this
should.
is right. And me is more than stuff I can brag on. Me are my don't play. You out of there. Me is a sum of all of me. Me is the stuff I'm proud of. Me is the stuff I'm not proud of. Me is my gifts. Me is my mistakes. Me is my thoughts. Me is my emotion. It's all me. And that's what I
And
do.
being okay with all of it.
And being okay with all of it.
I tell a lot of men and women that if you can't love you, respect you, and dote on you, how can you expect for somebody else to do it? You are the first example of how you are supposed to treat you. So if you are not giving that example, and when you getting a lot of bullshit in return, then who you really mad at? When you get in these relationships and you stay because you getting bullshit, who you really mad
And
at?
I'm gonna tell you, man, and I ain't gonna go spiritual or super spiritual, but a lot of it, if you think about this, right? People believe in higher powers, of course, the earth, the universe, whatever, right? And whatever you believe in has guided you to a relationship. And it has gotten you to a relationship with a person that does a certain thing. Especially if that person begins to repeat, right? Have you ever thought that it was meant to show you something? As I begin to mature, I begin to realize that a lot of the stuff that I was complaining about was in me.
Seeing a lot of yourself in some of the people that you were dating.
With the very people that I'm arguing
You
with,
are what you attract.
you are what you attract.
Absolutely.
And we get so busy trying to point
But
that
the thing is,
finger
you got three.
that you ain't realized that joint might be in you.
Right.
I've had to check myself a few times.
I second that emotion.
You feel me?
Yeah, I don't sit here with an S on my chest. But
Man, what?
I sit here as humble as hell. Divorced
For real.
mom, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I got my shit too, like we all do.
Yeah.
But I learned early that I'm gonna be unapologetically invisible. You know, I'm gonna be unapologetically
power in
dark,
that.
you know. And if you can't love and respect me for who I am out the gate, I don't have to have a representative. I want you to know what you're getting up front. Because one thing about me is I love my time. Because I don't know how much I got.
Yeah.
See, I can spend it, but you can't buy no more.
Nah.
So I'm real particular about who I spend it with and who I let waste.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
and the older I've got, the more time has become much more of a precious commodity to me.
Absolutely.
Like my peace of mind and my peace in my heart.
Absolutely.
And so I choose to be single. I don't have to be. But if we're going to entertain and we're going to play this game, then it seems like everybody should be a winner out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you do it right, everybody should win.
So, well,
Even if you gotta go separate ways. You know what I'm saying?
Then you still win.
Yeah, you still win. You both cut each other.
I agree. And then you can take what you can use with you and then leave what you can't, keep it moving.
Yeah.
Be better, not bitter. Okay, and I'm gonna repeat that for everybody else that's listening. Be better, not bitter. Because at the end of the day, you make the individual your God. I don't care if you believe in them or not.
Yeah.
That person becomes your God. That man and that woman that's emotionally unavailable because they're holding on to toxic relationships because everybody been hurt before. Or somebody was going through this, or somebody did this, or somebody did that. But yet you walk around talking about you want somebody to love you. Don't want
Why
anybody
you
to
got a woman?
love you.
I'm ready to say, why you got a woman? You got the man. We gotta heal. We gotta heal, and that's why I say it take a man. You know what I'm saying? Because I can say this to one of my dudes, and it'll be about the only way that he accepts me.
Yeah.
Is if it come from, and like I said, I don't get paid for this. They never give me nothing. But I do it a lot of times because I know that it may never be another person or another situation that they will be accepting of it, but it's so real. I wish they tell me all the time. They tell me all the time I need to do like a man's camp or a man's retreat, or you know what I'm saying.
I would like to be very instrumental in that.
God, I don't know if I get nobody to come.
Let me real shit. I think that you wouldn't have enough space.
Really?
And let me tell you why. I think if you're worried about which age group you're going to focus that target on, you have to be mindful about what it is that you want to cover in that camp. And then that way you know what your target
Oh, it's
is.
enough material, man.
It is, but you have to be mindful. Anybody between the ages of 21 and 31 ain't gonna get a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
So if you talking about what we talking about, emotionally focused, we talking about the men that's maybe now they're baby daddies and they getting older and they start to realize they want a relationship. They kissed enough rats to know that them heifers ain't turned into princesses. Okay, so saying all that to say, you know, so when you talking about doing a retreat, we're talking about self-esteem, confidence,
Absolutely.
breaking generational curses.
Absolutely.
What does a man look like? What does success look like to you? What does a family represent to you? And what do you want your family to take from you? What do you have to give to a family? That's some strong shit.
Because
you know everybody want to be the head of a household, but you don't even know how to be the feet.
Man,
why are you laying your ass in the bed and she at work? Make it make sense.
And that's what I'm at. And I don't know if I'm giving God the glory or not.
You might as well, because I'm always, that's what this is all about.
And I tell them, like, you know, people see me now and it's Silas the entrepreneur. They don't know that Silas was a house dad for like 4 years. Man, set my butt down. You feel what I'm saying? And had to learn my true value at a point where people were telling me, if you knew the stuff people were saying about me, I'm still blowing people mind now. Like, and I don't feel like I got nothing, to be honest with you. But it's people now that still don't say nothing to me because they still biting words that they said about me when I was a stay-at-home dad.
That's because God said He'll make your enemies your footstool.
Yeah, but it was me too. Because I had to find my own value in I had to become proud to be able to say, I got two older boys, Cameron and Tyrese. My youngest is Faith. One of my biggest regrets for Cameron and Tyrese was everything that I missed and still continue to miss. Because it was what goes on between me and their mom, and you know, it's decisions that I had to make that's best. When Faith came, I said, Silas, you learned from all of that. And the desire of my heart was not to make that mistake. But God made sure of that.
Man.
He put me right in the house. And I learned the value of cooking and cleaning and vacuuming and
careful what you pray for.
But at the same time, there's a lot of men out here that they've been one side or the other. You feel what I'm saying? And with no mentor to tell them, dude, you got that on both sides.
You know what? I was actually going to go into that as well because, you know, we say what we say about our men and believe it. Black men, I love you all. We're not shitting on you all.
Right.
But if a lot of you get grew up with a man in the house, it's kind of hard for you to know what example of seeing an emotional black man looks like.
Man, you know what? My daddy was in my house the whole time. I still was confused.
You know what I was getting ready to say?
You feel what I'm saying?
There's a lot of men there that don't even know him.
Man, what? Right. You can have no daddy in the house, problem. You can have daddy on some BS in the house, problem. You can have daddy in my particular, especially my grandfather. He was daddy at work all the time. whole different problem.
Mhm.
You feel what I'm saying? And all of these things have to be issued. I read a book by T.D. Jakes. I want to say it was Manpower. It was one of his Manpower books. He was talking about men. He said every man needs at least five. At least five. We lucky if we get two.
And nowadays, you lucky if you get one.
If you get one.
And it may not necessarily be in the house. It could be an uncle.
Man,
It could be a grandparent. It could be something like that.
But we need five.
Yeah,
We need five.
I can say in my lifetime, I might have had 5. God rest the soul of a few of them that went on. Very instrumental. I have had the luxury of having a stepfather. I call him bonus dad. Shout out to Mr. Smith Sr.
Shout out to
then,
Smith.
And then I my biological who came along. Shout out to Mr. Westbrook.
Okay.
And it wasn't always what it needed to be, but one thing for certain, two for sure, Mr. Smith did that.
Yeah.
Because I was his.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, it's 5 up under me that was his, but I was first.
Yeah.
And so when he decided to be with
That is
Invisible
something.
Mama, you know,
Yeah.
he understood that this was a package deal.
Yeah.
And technically I am his first kid because they learned,
No,
right? They
yeah.
learned, you know, I was the example child.
Yeah.
We gonna get it together eventually, but we gonna try it on you first.
Right,
you know?
right.
But you know what, I'm better for that. And then I
But see, even with that though, and I think what I realized what Jay said, the 5 though, you see those other 4 is what really give you clarity about
the
that
number
that you
one.
just talked about. You feel what I'm saying?
You better say
You
it.
feel what I'm saying?
Because
So
they gonna tell you some stories
Man,
about one
what?
and being one. Okay, because one always an example of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, and that's why we need 5. And like I said, it was like a drop of a pearl of gold that I read in the book. When I read it, I'm like, man, I do need 5 because it's an evaluation system. The 5 give me something to evaluate,
Yes, it
and
is.
then I can take those 5 perspectives, those five different lifestyles, those 5 different mindsets, and decide what side.
We call it quantitative data.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I ain't heard this is on you.
Quantitative data.
Yeah,
You gotta have something to measure it.
To measure it by.
Absolutely.
Yeah, have something
And
to
a
measure
lot
by.
of folks don't have those examples, and so that's why we have our emotionally unattached men. Why we have our men that's scared to express themselves, because I mean, by the time you're 35, you have at least been in a relationship where you've been hurt.
Yeah.
You know, never lied on you and told you
Oh,
it was
yeah.
yours and it wasn't. You got you fell in love, man. Brother, it was karma.
Yeah.
And so what I find is a lot of men dish a lot of things that they can't take.
Yeah.
And so when they do find themselves getting in these relationships and they do decide that they want to agree to come to therapy, they always point the finger at, well, man, she do this, man, and she do that, and she like, he just don't listen. 90% of the women that I talk to that are coming for couples therapy, the first thing that they say is, he just don't listen. But if he would just listen, then he would understand what I'm saying. And 90% of our arguments we wouldn't even have because he would just listen before he respond. Just, I'm getting listening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's
That
a thing.
part, huh?
That's
You
a
done
thing.
lit up like a Christmas tree.
That's a thing.
It's
It's a
old,
thing.
man.
It's a thing. You know, it's a thing. That's a thing. That's definitely a thing. My challenge, I talk to a lot of people.
Uh-huh.
Like I told you. Some of these people sometimes end up being couple people that's dating or whatever. One of the things that I like to do is go around the room and see who heard what. Because
perspective.
man, what? But
I like
a
that.
lot of times when you feel like somebody not listening, it's probably some listening you ain't doing too. That's one of the things I learned from the other people. That's one of the things I told you. I found stuff in other people, and that's what I'm saying. Like, dog, you're not listening. You're not listening, but neither was I.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, if there's very few times, right, in any kind of dialogue where one person is listening and the other is staying attentive the whole time. Even if it's for the reason of you saw that they done checked out, now you about to check out too. You know what I'm saying? But one way or another, we both about to stop listening.
Mm-hmm.
You feel what I'm saying?
If it ain't happened already.
If it ain't happened already, absolutely. And so even a part of my maturation process as the man, you know, people talk about gender roles, right? Gender roles, and I think that's another big influence of why we can talk about this all day, but you can't tell me that gender roles doesn't play an influence.
Hell yeah! I got about 7 clients tomorrow.
Yeah.
They got issues with their gender roles. They married.
Yeah. it to me, in my opinion, it becomes more about relationship rules.
Okay,
You
now.
feel what I'm saying?
I'm
And
gonna-
that's what being a stay-at-home dad.
I know, I get that, but let's be adults in this situation. I'm gonna be devil's advocate. I believe effective communication and actively listening when it comes to communication will help the moral gender roles. Because some stuff when they say unspoken rules or unspoken
Right.
things, I think that's not fair.
Right.
Because it's not safe for me to assume that you grew up in a home where you had a mom that was, OCD about making sure you got your ass up out of bed on Saturday morning to clean the baseboards and walls and thoroughly knew how to clean a home and a toilet and everything else. And then when we get together, I find out that you really a work.
Right.
Or you
Yeah,
find out
that's
that
weird.
I may have some cleaning tactics, but now I'm a baby mama
That's
who's trying to make it work with me, and I'm trifling as hell.
But what you said was on point. For one, no, in my opinion, no to the unspoken rules. No, you speak.
Yeah, you have to-
We find some boundaries, come to some
Right.
agreement. But why the reason why I said relationship roles though is because one of the most necessary relationship roles that needs to be discovered and filled in any relationship is to decide who's going to be the level head.
I think that's kind of decided once you guys decide to continue to talk. Because you find out a
You can
person,
kind of find out, yeah.
you will know a person's
yeah,
strength and weaknesses the more you date. Because
yeah.
one thing, and I don't like to, put nobody else shit out there, so I like to use me as an example.
Yeah.
Nobody talk about the business,
Yeah.
like the business. Right? But one thing about me is I'm usually pretty cool, but I got a temper something different.
Right.
And not that I can beat up the world, that's not the case.
Right.
But I am feisty.
Right.
Okay.
You
And
said
I'm
you were
never,
Gemini, right?
I am is.
Yeah.
And
That stuff I learned is being Gemini.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so, when it comes to certain things, I've never been in a domestic violence situation. And I have a lot of friends and family that have. I don't even see domestic violence in my practice because for me, that's
Sure.
it's a soapbox for me.
Okay.
I understand the mental health behind it, but trying to help somebody want to keep going back, something different.
Yeah.
But when it comes to relationships, I like to look at it as like, let me tell you about me up front. I don't want you to ever have to second guess. I don't ever want you to have to wonder or question about me. Because if you need to know, I want you to feel open. I want to be an open book.
Right.
These are my strengths and these are my weaknesses. If I think that this relationship can fester into something and I want to open up that Pandora box, that's fine. Okay, and I want you to know that I'm okay with my strengths and my weaknesses so you can understand that I want this in return. And once I try to set and create an environment where the individual that I'm talking to can be emotionally open, there it is.
Okay.
Emotionally open to say, well, you know what? Well, I was raised with my grandma. She usually, did a lot of the cooking and cleaning. I had chores, but mostly it was like outside. My grandfather died, so I kind of had to, to cut grass, take out the garbage and stuff like that. And she did the household stuff.
Right.
So, I know how to do it, but I'm not good at it. I could respect that.
Right.
I can respect that because you telling me that you're not real good at washing dishes. You don't know
But
that.
see, that go back to being able to admit that's almost as bad as I'm confused. I'm not real good at something. Who says that?
Well,
Everybody the best at everything.
if you try
You
it,
ain't read social media.
well, listen. That's why I don't entertain that mess. All them internet gangsters and
We
wanksters
all
and
good.
Billy D's and all that. Yeah, I don't even entertain it. I'd rather you
Yeah.
tell me what
Yeah,
you're
what's
comfortable
your
with,
business
who you are up front, and be okay with who you are, and let me be okay with it.
Yeah.
Because when we talk, when we equate, when we bring all of this stuff back together, the realism is this: if I can't be okay with your best, and you can't be okay with my best, then why we together? Because the last thing I want you to do is lose who you are to make me happy.
Right.
Because
And
if
I
you,
don't want to do the same.
but if right, and if you're not
But if we
loving
love
on
each other, to me, and that's a whole other. Man, people aren't made. God didn't create people for you to use. And if you are not in pursuit to truly care for or love a person, that's the big. Pastor Carr said we had a pastor on our show a couple years ago, and he said it, and I was like, dang, like it made a lot of sense. Like if you're not dating for love, you're not dating.
well,
Even if you just messing around, you're really not doing nothing but setting, one of y'all is getting set up. I don't know who it is, either you or and that's pretty much what he said. If it's not for love, then whatever you think you're doing, you're not doing.
I had a conversation with a dear female friend of mine. She'll be listening to this. I got a couple females friends, so I wonder which one they think I'm talking about.
Okay.
But we had this conversation, and it was about if you liking somebody. Okay, we talking about my age, the 40, blah blah blah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
So we talking about grown, damn grown.
Okay.
Now you calling yourself liking somebody after being divorced and everything else, and you trying to get yourself out there. And it's not a shortage of men, but it could be a shortage of decent quality men,
Right.
depending on what you're looking for.
Right.
And so she was making some comments about some dude, this particular dude that she was interested in, and she was like, I like him or whatever, but she was mentioning some things that it just wasn't making sense to me because I'm married and divorced too.
Okay.
I mean, we too old to be playing these particular damn games.
Right.
Okay, if you like this dude and you get ready to spend some time with this dude, okay, you got to make it make sense. What's the end result? Because usually the end result is marriage, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Is that what you
And everybody, if that ain't your thing, you all right with living and shaking up with teachers on, I'm not here to judge. But you got to make it make sense. Why? What is the end result here? What is the plan? It's like marriage. Marriage is really it's a business contract.
Right.
But so is dating. That's the interview process to getting to where it is that you try to be. So if you liking somebody, why not let them know how you feel right out the gate with your grown ass? And so you can see if he just as grown as you. So you're not wasting your time. But then you keep me up 3 o'clock in the motherfucker telling me that he's doing A, B, C, and D.
And trying to be cold
and little P.
like with this
and you
with
trying
this
to
man.
find justification for this shit. Instead of him just telling you, saying what he mean and meaning what he say.
Well, here's the thing though. Well, yeah, she gotta have a conversation.
But I use her as an example because it's a lot of that going on. We talk about emotionally unattached.
Yeah.
Because truth be told, listening to her talk, I hear of an emotionally unattached man too, but I hear that fear you were talking about. I hear that confusion you were talking about because we don't want to be hurt. We all carrying that baggage.
Right.
We don't want to act like that. We all know I'm good shit. I'm all right. Fuck that bitch.
Right.
She fuck that.
Right.
Don't say nigga. Fuck it. It's my show.
Right.
And it is what it is. But at the end of the day, we want love. We want everything that we say that we want, but we don't want to be emotionally available and commit to that particular love. And then we run around and blame every fucking body.
Can I be honest with you though, since we might as well go there?
Why not?
In mental health. Oh, all right.
Well, it all in.
And doing those, like I was saying when the show started, man, those 4 or 5 years of mental health really changed everything for me mentally about how I saw people, about how I viewed people, about the issues that other people had. And to be honest with you, and being totally transparent, it was a real journey for me spiritually. Because I felt like God he wasn't showing me particular stuff, but he was just, you in mental health, I talk to them about correlation doesn't mean causation.
You ain't lying.
You feel what I'm saying?
Define that real quick for somebody who
Correlation isn't causation. People have the tendency to say that because two things correlate, right, that one must cause the other.
Exactly.
It is basically just kind of jumping the gun a little bit.
Cause and effect.
Yeah. And just because, like even in lung cancer, how they do the advertising for cigarettes, right? The reason why they word it like that is based off the original studies that smoking cigarettes does have a correlation with lung cancer, but science isn't able to say 100% that smoking cigarettes causes lung cancer. So on a cigarette packet, you say may cause lung cancer, just to let you know, because if they do say that, they can be liable for libel or defamation because they look bad on cigarettes and they can't prove it. You see what I'm saying? And so the reason why I brought that up is because I think a lot of times in relationships, we can learn from the benefit of understanding that a little bit better. Just because two things correlate doesn't mean I have to make the assumption that one is causing the other, and we can accept that, then what the thing that I love most about selective correlation before causation is that if you just kind of just leave it there at correlation, you may begin to learn some things more.
But you have to know who you are in order to have that type of
absolutely
mental
yeah
process, in order to be able to process that.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
too often, you know, we do, like I say, functional dysfunction, cognitive disorder,
Man, what?
and all of that in its entirety. But at the end of the day, you just have to know that if you're going to be out here in these relationships, men and women, we originally talked about men, but women too, but definitely our men, because women are more emotional than men are. If you want this love, if you feel like you want to, you know, open up this door and be with somebody, you found somebody and all that, you have to be really, really real with yourself and say, is this the person that I feel like I can open up to?
Absolutely.
And if not, then why are you with them? Because if you can't be vulnerable with the person that you're with, then who can you be vulnerable with?
Wait a minute, I got it better. I won't call it better.
Go for it.
This your show. But I got a question that I know deep down in my heart. I need answers to everybody that's having this problem in a relationship with. And that is, if you can't be emotionally open with your God, how do you expect to be emotionally open with your partner?
You have to, you assuming that everybody believes that there is a God.
Whatever your God is.
Some people won't even have a God.
If it's, wait a minute,
The God
you just said though, that a lot of these, their partner will come to God.
If you allow them to continue to keep controlling your life, if you continue to stay in something that's toxic, and you don't want to get up out of that, and you keep letting that toxic relationship affect every relationship you get in, they become your God.
Exactly. And so if I leave it in here, then what becomes my God?
That's toxic shit we talking about.
Me.
Yeah.
If I believe in a real God, then what's my God? You always got a God.
You just gotta pick and choose which
one is it?
You gotta say it. You better
Which one
say
is
it.
Which one is
Which
it?
one is it?
Is it
Pick
you?
one.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Pick one.
Is
Is it you?
One of
Is it
these
your
shows
partner?
before you know if you don't.
Is it your God? Is it your work?
Or is it you?
We're always choosing a God. And if you can't be open and honest emotionally with
About
your
what
God,
is.
even if I chose this phone to be my God, if I can't be open and honest emotionally to this thing that I'm saying is my God, get it over.
Period. Period. Period.
You get to choose. That's the one thing I love about God. He lets you choose.
Yeah.
You get to choose, and people are really getting their choice. God is giving people free will to select who their God is, and they are choosing. But understand, whatever you choose to be your God, the least that God should be able to do is allow you to be open emotionally with. And if my God can't do that, I don't want him. The first person I had to learn to say sorry to, for real, was my God. Was my God. That's where I learned how to say, you are talking to a dude that would not say he was wrong. I learned by practicing with my God. And my God is so good that he lets everybody choose who their God is. So make your choice. But whoever your choice is, practice saying you're sorry to him. Practice saying you're wrong to him. Practice admitting your faults to him. And maybe you'll get better with the people.
Look at you preaching. Go ahead on. Pass the election play, kid.
Then don't do that.
That's the sour benediction at this
Who's your
point.
God? Who's your God?
Hey.
No matter, and my mama, I swear my mama, who is God, she watching this, she gonna say it like, dude, I was the hard-headed one.
But
I
you had
stopped being
you had to go through to get to. You know,
Yeah.
and some people are there, some people are not.
Yeah.
Some people might be in the beginning phases of people really being able to identify that that's actually really a problem in their life.
And that's what he was showing me in the mental health. My mom was telling me, she said, son, the biggest thing I can tell you is that you can't get away from it.
Yeah. That's true.
That's what 5 years of mental health taught me.
Man, we should got somebody that
God is still God.
regard all by himself.
Man,
And he don't need your help. He don't need your help. Oh baby.
He don't. As a matter of fact, he'll let you choose what you think is God.
You ain't lying.
And still use that to show you that he is God. Because find a better God that can take your mess.
The Bible says all paths lead to Christ.
Man, what?
So regardless of what it is, it's what it
It's
is.
gonna happen.
Well, we gotta wrap it up.
It's gonna happen. I'll give you some more time. I like this conversation. You have to have me back.
Oh, you better. I was just about to say that. Let everybody know who you are,
Yeah.
where they can find you.
Hey, mama.
You definitely can. You definitely gotta come back on the show. I
Yeah.
really love this banter. I really love getting the other side of the pendulum.
And
With
it's
our
so much
plans
more.
for special. It is. We can do this so much.
Yeah.
We definitely will because I really love the banter that we have.
Yeah.
I love your feedback, and you're coming from a black man who's been there, who understood his flaws, and then now you're dead.
I never wanted to be that dude. I always wanted to be the young, cool dude.
All right.
I didn't want to do this. You know what I'm saying? I swear I didn't, but I feel responsible because, like I said, in a way, I understand, and I didn't want to come on the show and do this man versus woman
Oh
thing
no.
that we see
Yeah,
all
I never
the
do
time.
that because
Yeah.
I like all of my people because I'm gonna have other people on my show as well from different cultures.
Yeah.
But I'm still your sister.
Absolutely, and I will say this before I leave. I do believe that every black man needs to not only define but execute the true definition of what they believe in their heart a man should be and do, and be ready to improve upon that as you leave.
Absolutely.
If we do that, if we start there, you feel what I'm saying? We'll get to opening up
It's a start.
emotionally. We'll get to treating our woman right,
And we'll be better parents.
and we'll
be better people.
Them kids will tell me all this. Be honest with you.
You ain't lying.
Them
My
kids.
daughter taught me how to be soft because I was
Man,
a
what?
at the time with it.
Man,
Like,
what?
I didn't wear a dress until she was 2.
See what I'm
So,
saying?
she taught me how to be a girl. And
Yeah.
ironically, out of all of my siblings, I have the only girl. Tell you about God, Miss Human. My mother had 6, and it's a bunch of boys.
That's
and
what you
girls.
here.
Oh, even my sister got 2 boys. I'm the only one that got the girl. And I find it oddly strange you gave the thug the girl.
Yeah,
You're like, I'm gonna show you better than I said. And then I'm gonna give you a girly girl too with your thug.
And the thing I love about God, man, I was talking to a guest yesterday on Virgin. The thing I love about God is that He always challenges you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
but I love it because if He's the one that's challenging me to be a better me, to be a bigger me, then I know He gotta have my back.
Absolutely.
So I can do it. You can do it.
Wherever He bring you to, He'll
Man, what?
provide you.
He gonna, man, what?
Absolutely.
Well, why would you waste His time?
I'm trying
Because
to
I ain't
tell
wasting
you.
mine.
I'm trying to tell you. Well, good people, I'm so glad that you tuned in into my show. Definitely
The Invisible
do
Doctor.
The Invisible Doctor. This is the show Mental Me. If you are an individual out there that is just seeking some help, you just want to get a different perspective on life. As a provider, whether it's me or anybody else, our job and our only job is to give you tools to put in your toolbox to apply to your life where you see fit. Not us, you.
That's it.
And saying that, we have to start breaking the generational curses about what therapy and mental health is. So often we grew up in the homes where, mama, grandma, auntie said, well, go on in my house, stay in my house. Well, you know what? Now that you know better, you have to do better. It's almost life or death at this point because people are committing suicide at alarming rates.
Yeah.
Alarming rates. And my job on this earth, I do feel God put me out of medicine to come into mental health. And I do believe that this is my ministry, this is my calling, and I'm real and I'm 100. I'm going to say IBD yet, so yeah, you're going to get some cuss words for sure. But I'm real. And I tell you, when you call me, I'm 100% USDA real. I've been in these trenches, okay? And it ain't nothing that you can't tell me that I ain't heard before, regardless if I've been through it. So if you really want somebody to talk to, somebody that, you can just really get some things out and feel like that will help you be a better you, even just to get some clarity, you can reach me at area code 734-404-8729. The company is called The Beautiful Mind Family Counseling Services. We are actually Monday through Friday. However, we do accept cash clients and some insurances we do take, depending on what it is. We have a sliding fee scale for some individuals. And eventually, you guys will be able to call up here and maybe ask some questions about different things.
We can give them the number.
Absolutely. Call up here and we'll, because I specialize in trauma, substance abuse, and marriage and family.
313-217-1588.
And there you have it. So when individual
We'll direct
doctor
you
is
to the
on
doctor.
here
Yeah.
and you something that you want to get on the
You wanna ask the doctor something?
ask the doctor.
I'm gonna go in the hallway and call you.
All right. I'm gonna act like I'm surprised. Hey, how can I help you? Okay. And what's that insurance number?
I love it.
Get
I'm
started.
like 7.
Right, you nailed it. Then 7. How many of those 7s? That's before or after that 7, But thank you guys. It's really been a pleasure having you on the show. You definitely will be back. We got to do this again. We got to keep this momentum going about changing our culture. Well, the Total Entertainment Radio, man, shout out Penny Drop, who sponsored this as well, Penny Drop 69. Man, shout out for show. If you want to get an order in Penny Dropper 69, most definitely do that at pennydropper69@gmail.com. A flavored vodka. We just want to keep it moving. Penny Dropper. So until next time, you guys. Love you. Peace out.
All right, y'all. This Trace all signing out.
Shit together. If we had our own show for real.